Hey guys, this is Mr. Lynch. I thought I'd spend a few minutes just kind of going back over the homework for tomorrow. Not going over it, but just make sure you guys are familiar with the understanding of shifts. So if you look at the supply curve, what we basically have is the idea, let's say $10 hand sanitizer, the company would be willing to supply 20,000 a month, and at a price of, let's say, 5, the company would be willing to supply 10. Now, let's say one of the ingredients, alcohol, for example, became a lot cheaper. Well, that's going to increase the supply. So what we're going to have is we're going to have a shift. We're going to have a new supply curve. All right. So what that basically means is essentially the firm, it can actually produce more of the good at the original price, or produce the same amount at a lower price. So let me repeat that. So a shift is when the firm is producing more of the good at a lower price. Sorry, producing more of the good at the same price, or producing the same amount but at a lower price. Now, this is what we mean by a shift. We mean this is a shift rightwards. So that's a good, excuse me. Now, what do you think a shift leftwards is? A shift leftwards is when the firm is producing less at the same price, or producing the same amount but at a higher price. All right, so I'll let that sink in for a second and let's think about that. All right, so I'm going to move on to the next graph and show you what a shift left is going to look like. Okay, so let's do that. So let's draw a shift left. So we're going to draw a price. We're going to draw a quantity. Quantity supplied on the x-axis. So remember, on supply and demand graphs, the price of the good is always going to be on the y-axis, and the quantity itself of the good is always going to be the stuff, physical stuff is going to be on the x. So we're going to draw our supply curve. We're going to have the price of, let's say, $20. We're also going to have another price of 10. Okay, this 10 is going to be 8,000 supplied a week. At this, there's going to be 20,000 supplied. So when we have a shift left, what that means is, let's say the alcohol becomes more expensive, or there is delivery issues going on, workers are sick, or the factory has to close down because there's not enough workers available to produce the goods. The factory's been closed down for health reasons. So what we have is a shift left, which means, as you notice, there's going to be less supplied at the original price, or in order to produce the same amount, the price is rising. And that is what we call a shift. So this is a shift leftwards, which is a decrease. Because if you think about it, with the quantity going down, it's not going down because of the price change, it's going down for another reason. And with supply, we typically talk about things like weather, cost of production, workers getting sick. All right, so let's move on to the demand curve. So I want to make sure when you guys are doing the homework that if you think about it this way, okay, let's look at this. So let's look at our demand curve. Let's say we have a price of $2 for hand sanitizer, and which obviously you now realize it's going to be a lot more expensive than that. And you are going to buy maybe 3 bottles a month. Now, if you're worried about there's going to be a panic buying, if you're worried that the shortage is going to get worse, you're going to increase your quantity demanded for that. We're going to call that 7. Okay, we have our demand curve. So what's going to happen is, if you've noticed, is we now have a shift to the right. What that means is essentially that your quantity demanded is increasing. So we have a new demand curve. And another way of looking at that is in addition to, you can either be buying more at the same price, or you might be willing to pay a higher price for the same quantity. So think about this. You don't want to get sick, you want to keep yourself healthy. So you may be willing to pay a higher price just to get your hands on hand sanitizer. So if we type away here, what we're going to say is a shift right of the demand curve. Let's move this guy over. Okay, is when you want to buy more at the same price or pay more for the same quantity. And we see these people doing this all the time, right? Whether it's hand sanitizer, Clorox wipes, masks. People might be so desperate to get their hands on them, they're willing to go to eBay because they're desperate to get them. So the price isn't scaring them off. And that's what we mean by a shift. And that's a rightward shift. So with a leftward shift, it's when you want to buy less at the same price or pay less for the same quantity, right? If you think about it, you're like, yeah, I don't need as much. I'm not going to pay as much for it. You don't want it as much. Maybe you end up not buying it at all. So a shift left is when you want to buy less at the same price. Okay, so the biggest thing that you guys have to make sure you understand is the shift. So let's finish that off with the shift left. The biggest issue that I think that you guys are going to run into. All right. So we're going to draw our demand curve. We're going to have our price. Call this $2. Quantity is 3. I'll make it 5 this time. What's going to happen is that, let's say you believe a hand sanitizer is giving you certain types of carcinogens, or maybe the pandemic is over, it's not as bad, you're getting less worried about it. You're only going to buy 2 of it. Okay, so what we have is a shift left of the demand curve. And you remember, your demand curve is always going to slope downwards, and your supply curve is always going to slope upwards, because one that I tell my students is, look, if the supply curve has the letters UP in it, that means it's going up. Okay, so what's going to happen is we're going to have less of the good possibly being bought at a lower price, or the same amount, or at the same price we're buying less of it. So let me write that down. Shift left, buy less at the same price, or pay less for the same quantity. All right, so good luck with that, and we will see how you do. Okay, and there's actually one more video I think I want to share with you guys. If you just allow me to do that, I'm going to go to studio feature. Where is it? All right. I'm going to play you guys a quick video. This is from a really funny and interesting show called It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where one of the characters goes into a factory and tries to inspect the production of fish. So here, if you think about this, What's going on here? Right? Your hair gets caught. So the question is, do you think this is a shift left, shift right of the supply curve or demand curve? So this is a problem that's happening at the factory, right? And remember, supply is what I have, demand is what you want. And you can want all the fish possible, right? My demand for fish hasn't changed. So what's going on here is the production of fish has gone down because of the accidents. And this is probably more relevant than the pandemic if companies are closing down, especially in regards to meat and other products. So, so when we say supply shifting left, what we're saying is the production is being halted. Now, if supply can't keep up with demand, that doesn't mean that supply is going down. What it means is that basically the company is trying to produce as much as possible. It's just that the demand is going up quicker than the company is able to produce it. All right, so hopefully that video made sense. If not, then oh well. And that concludes my lecture.